What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another match preview for you guys. Spurs take on Liverpool in the 5:30 kickoff on Saturday in what is set to be a massive game for Spurs as we face a very informed team. Before we get into the match preview, check out, you can see bottom left hand side of the screen here, WeAreTottenhamTV.co.uk. If you don't get enough of your Tottenham fix from watching our content, you can watch our written content as well. You can read our written content as well, our blog posts, and also check out some merch we have on the website as well. So go check it out if you have time. Much appreciated. It does help support the channel, so we'd really appreciate you all going out and checking the website. Now, big game, Ben, this weekend, off the back of a North London derby draw where we gave a good account of ourselves as our first real test of the season, coming back from twice from behind as well to get a draw at the Emirates. But we probably faced an even more informed side, I would say, this time around. I know it's our home ground, so we got home advantage this time. But Liverpool, off the back now, 18 games unbeaten, 7 wins in a row in all competitions. Would you say this is definitely our biggest test of the season so far? Or would you say the Arsenal game was a bigger test?
It's a difficult one because obviously the Arsenal game was away from home. This one is at home. But when you're looking at the two teams and what they've done so far and how they're playing so far this season, Liverpool are definitely the ones on better form, playing the better football, looking more fluid. I would probably say that Liverpool are the second, probably obviously with Man City because they've won every single game so far. But Man City aside, they are the best team in the league so far. You've got to say that. And they look dynamite going forward. But what you've got to say is you can get at them going the other way. Every time I've seen them play, they've been giving up chances. And I don't think they've come up against a team maybe as clinical as we are, especially with the likes of Heung-min Son and how clinical he's been so far in that number 9 role. So there are reasons to think that we can take points in this game. But you got to be wary of the threats that Liverpool pose as well, because I think maybe our weak points defensively, Liverpool maybe can kind of combat that and definitely hurt us very much so going the other way. So I do envisage maybe a lot of goals this weekend with both teams playing a high line, both teams playing very open and expansive football. But what's really annoying for me is Brennan Johnson being out, because I thought Brennan Johnson would have been a really big tool for us to give us that kind of double threat of in behind with him, Heung-min Son. With Brennan Johnson out and probably Manuel Solomon coming in, that kind of diminishes our threat a little bit, to be honest. Well, more than a little bit, to be honest, going forward. And we'll see how it goes. But I'm confident that we can get a result. I think at home, under the lights, with the home fans behind us, we've seen how much of a help they've been so far this season. And also, you've got to say, with the 2 performances we've had in the last 2 games against Sheffield United and Arsenal, coming from behind in stoppage time to win the game against Sheffield United and to come back twice at the Emirates against Arsenal, which obviously has been a terrible ground for us in recent years. So I think both of them are very morale boosting performances and results. So I'm hoping we can kind of take that morale boost and into this game and use it as a springboard for our success this weekend.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. I think that mental resilience is going to be a big factor in this game, because you saw at the Emirates after the first 30 minutes, we were under the cosh quite severely, and Arsenal were pinching the ball off us in deeper areas, and it was looking like we were kind of buckling under the pressure. But what was so impressive was the fact that we stuck to our game, we composed ourselves, and we found solutions. And I think it's going to have to be very similar in this game, because we know how Liverpool like to play. We know that they're going to press us high. They're also going to try and do a lot of similar things that Arsenal did, and maybe even to a better effect given the way they're playing. But I'm confident, especially in front of our home fans, that we can as well do what we did at the Emirates, play through them when we can. And if we can do that, there's going to be space for us, and we definitely have the tools to hurt Liverpool. And it's going to be about I think I can see Liverpool maybe creating more chances than us, but I think it's about maybe how tight our defensive unit could be. Maybe it needs to be a bit tighter than it was at the Emirates, especially in that first half. And I think it's how often we can get Son in behind and in those goal-scoring positions. And if we can get him involved enough times, like we have done in previous years, I think we can definitely hurt them, because Son usually has, I read he's got 5 goal contributions in his last 5 games against Liverpool. So he does usually turn up against against them. He knows how to play there against their high line. So he's definitely our biggest threat, in my opinion. But I agree about the Brennan Johnson point. It's going to be a massive miss. I think it's the right decision. If there's any sort of doubt about his hamstring or anything, you don't want to have him out for the long term. So you just got to take care of him, even if it's just 5% or whatever it is, because they were saying it wasn't a pull or a tear or anything. It was just a tightness of the hamstring. So it's a bit frustrating, but that's, a lot of teams have injuries at the moment, so you just got to deal with it. Looking at the form at the moment, between the two sides. Look, two of the most informed sides in the Premier League. Last 5 games, Liverpool have won 5 of their last 5 games. Spurs obviously winning 3, drawing 1 against Arsenal, and they lost in the Carabao Cup. Goals scored, 12 goals for Spurs, 15 for Liverpool. So they're in amazing goal scoring form. Goals conceded, 6 for Spurs, 4 for Liverpool. So at the back as well, not doing too bad. If you look at our home form, 4 wins on the trot, so that's definitely something to take into account. Their away form, but Liverpool's away form, they've won their last 3, but they did draw the last 2 games. The first game of this season and the last game of last season were both away from home, and they did end up drawing those games. But you think home advantage in this game, especially given how electric the atmosphere has been against Man United and against Sheffield United in the first 2 games, hopefully that can really add to the occasion and we can kind of be the 12th man. And if we can be up for the fight, I think if we can add that little extra energy, I think that can go a long way to winning a lot of these like 50-50 ground duels, and that could be where the game is won.
Yeah, look, there's a few things to take into account. First of all, Ange Postecoglou's home record. I think if he wins this or goes unbeaten, I think it's his 50th unbeaten game or something in a row at home, which is obviously a massive thing for him and goes some way to what we think is going to try and turn our home into a fortress, or he's got previous for doing that. But you got to say, the 2 tests that we've come up against so far this season in Arsenal and Manchester United, in both those games, in the opening half an hour, we massively came under the cosh, and we were very lucky not to go further down than we did. Obviously, United didn't score at all, but Arsenal went 1-0 up, and we were very lucky with that Jesus chance not to go 2-0 up. They had other chances as well, robbing us with our nervy play in the early stages of the game. And that Man United game, it's not really been talked about, but they put it on us a lot in the opening stages of that first half, and they were probably very unlucky not to score. And we started both games a bit nervy and a bit lackluster. And I think if we do start like that against Liverpool, they're going to punish us. They're a much better goal scoring side. So what they've shown this season than Arsenal and Manchester United, they've shown their clinical edge this season. In the last 5 games, they've scored a minimum of 3 goals, or 3. They've actually scored 3 goals in each of them in all competitions. So they're not going to let us off the hook like maybe an Arsenal did and maybe Manchester United did. So we need to be at it from the first minute, not showing any of those nervy signs, and not letting Liverpool in time and time again, like we did with Arsenal and like we did with Manchester United. So if we can start with being really aggressive from the first minute and not show any of those nervy mistakes like we did in those games, and I think we can go and get the 3 points. But history tells us so far this season, against the big test that we've come up against, that we start the game quite nervy.
That's very true. But I guess the really positive thing is, if we do go 1-0 down early, I think this team shows they're not going to panic. They're not going to buckle under that, and they're going to stick to their game plan. Even if we don't come away with the result at the end of the day, at least we know that I'm confident even if we go 1-0 down, we're still going to be in the game. We're going to have our own moments that maybe we can be on top, and it's not like last season, is it? Where like if we go 1-0 down, you kind of feel like the game's over already. Like there's always that chance that even the second half, or like as the game goes on, we can find our own solutions, even if we do go 1-0 down early on.
Yeah, but that's the whole point I'm talking about, right? Like, it's fine if we go 1-0 down, but in those games, it could have been, well, maybe not the Man United game because they never got that first goal, but specifically the Arsenal game, it could have been 2, and then it would have been a completely different game. So if we do go 1-0 down early and Liverpool keep persisting, keep pressing, and we keep making those mistakes, and it does end up going 2, potentially even 3, because Liverpool are capable of that, then you're all of a sudden thinking it's going to be a terrible afternoon. And look, I think we can make a resurgence, but whether to get a point on the board from going 2-0 down or even 3-0 down, it's going to be very hard work against this Liverpool side who can easily catch us on the break every time we go forward. So I just really want to see us go start the game really strongly. Potentially even, why don't we go 1-0 up this time? Why don't we take the ascendancy in the game and take the game to them?
Well, to be fair, you talk about going 1-0 down. I think Liverpool have gone 1-0 down in each of their last 3 games. Against Leicester in the Cup they did, West Ham they did, against Lask they did, against Wolves they did as well. Even against Newcastle and Bournemouth, they went 1-0 down. So I think every game this season, apart from Chelsea and the Villa game, they've also had sloppy starts. So definitely could go both ways, that argument, in terms of conceding chances early.
The difference is we've got a lot more tools to hurt them going the other way than those teams that you mentioned.
Yeah, so maybe we could be the ones going 2-3 up. So you never know. If Liverpool do win this game, like maybe convincingly, or even just if they just come away, like if they come away with a tight victory, is that for you showing their potential title credentials if they do win this game?
I don't know about this game specifically. They've got a nice run of games now. It's all going to come down to the title credentials when they face Man City, in my opinion, to be honest. I don't think this game shows their title credentials. It shows that they're definitely a shoe-in for the top 4, in my opinion. But title credentials, I think, is going to come down to those games against Man City, to be honest. But I think what they're showing so far this season is that they're a very top side. They definitely know where the back of the net is. They've got an electric attack. But I don't think they've been tested too much with the opponents that they've faced this season. All the opponents, maybe bar Newcastle away, you've kind of expected them to win. To be honest. So I think this is their proper first test of the season. It'll be interesting to see how their defence holds up against a very strong Tottenham attack.
Actually, I don't like that argument because I think they've had tough games. I think they've done really well to be on the record they are, because I've seen as you say, Newcastle away, most of the game with 10 men and end up winning. I see Villa at home, that's definitely a potential banana skin, and they completely wipe the floor with them. I see West Ham, who are a team who are also good counter-attacking team, where they beat Brighton convincingly away from home, and Liverpool had, apart from an early spell in the first half, had barely any trouble against them as well. So I don't like their game. I think most of the teams they've been playing are in the top half, a lot of them. So and they've been making light work of it. And if they were not as serious as some people are suggesting maybe that, look, they're still not sure about Liverpool. And that's fair enough, it's early in the season. But when you're beating teams in the top half that convincingly, I think for me that tells me something. I don't think you can write off their fixtures just yet. I think their fixtures have definitely had some potential banana skins, which they've dealt with really impressively, and especially that game against Newcastle. For all their talk of lacking in defensive solidity, to come away from that game with a victory and not concede while they had 10 men as well, and the fact that they're surprisingly still the second best defense in the league after 6 games, even though they've gone behind in a few of them. I think that tells me a lot at the moment. So I've been super impressed with Liverpool.
I don't know, man, because you expect them to win those games at Anfield. Aston Villa and West Ham.
Yeah, but they weren't last season. They weren't last season.
What do you mean? They beat them both at home last season.
Who?
Liverpool.
They beat who? Who they beat last season at home?
West Ham and Villa.
Yeah, but the West Ham and Villa are much better this season, aren't they? Or they've been much better.
I mean, look, like, you expect these games, especially if it was away from home, if it was at Villa Park and the London Stadium, I think you'd have much more of a point. But at Anfield, West Ham have not won at Anfield or not got points at Anfield for probably about 10 years. I think the last time was 2015, 2016. Aston Villa as well.
But it's more about, for me, it's more about how they're dispatching the teams easily. Like that Villa game, I really thought going into that game, Villa were going to, hurt them on the counter. They were going to lay a glove on them, and they just didn't get close. It was an absolute mauling. Liverpool should have won by more than 3 goals, and that's why I'm impressed with it. Like, Villa are a good team. Like, they could give a lot of teams trouble, especially away from home with their counter-attacking style. But Liverpool completely wiped the floor. Yeah, I know they did, but that was a lot closer game than the scoreline suggested. This one wasn't. This one was not close whatsoever. It was a really, really impressive performance from Liverpool, in my opinion. And I'm looking at them, and I really thought like they were going to struggle to win a few of those games, and they didn't, in my opinion. They did really, really well. So I've been impressed.
I think, look, it's impressive because of the way they've won the games, but ultimately, these are not the games that they're going to be judged on. These are the games which you expect them to go and win. And if they didn't win those games, the Liverpool fans will probably take it as a travesty to drop points at home to Aston Villa and West Ham. Essentially, when you think Liverpool are going to be fighting for the title in the top three minimum probably this season, and West Ham and Aston Villa will be fighting for Conference League at maximum Europa League football. So,
but also
look,
winning away with 10 men.
Yeah, no,
Newcastle.
I'm saying that result. That's the result that tells me, that they're going to be really good this season. Not the ones at home to Aston Villa and West Ham.
I think all of them, when you put it all together, I think that all tells me a lot, in my opinion. But looking at the game on Saturday, our form against Liverpool was absolutely atrocious. This is a massively cursed fixture for Spurs down the years. Not only is it been last minute winners like last year, Jota scored a last minute winner, Firmino I remember scored a last minute winner at Anfield a few under Mourinho, Alderweireld scored a last minute own goal at Anfield as well. Kane missed a last minute penalty and then Salah scored straight away as well. Like, there's just always late drama in this fixture. And also last season at home, like, we should have won that game. We ended up losing 2-1 after an atrocious dire mistake, which led to Salah scoring and putting Liverpool 2-0 up. It's a fit as well. Under Conte, drew 2-2 at home, where we absolutely missed a hatful of chances. Alisson getting man of the match. We always seem to give him a really good game and probably always come away with a result that maybe the performance doesn't deserve. But Liverpool always seem to find a way against us of just getting those 3 points, and it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah, it's massively frustrating. I think I said it to you yesterday. I think 1 win or 2 wins since 2012 or something like that, which is absolutely at home. That is, by the way, that's absolutely nuts. And I watched a compilation of all our big misses against Liverpool. It was doing the rounds on Twitter, and I mean, like, some of those misses, Højbjerg right at the end at Anfield, Heung-min Son has a number of misses against them, Giovanni Lo Celso, Musa Sissoko. Oh my God, that one when he was going bearing down on goal, and you're thinking, wow, Sissoko's finally going to score. And that's not even the end of it. There are so many more apart from that. So every time we come up against Liverpool, it seems as though we have a really good game against them, but we just can't get over the line. But that one when Højbjerg missed at the end, we actually ruined their title chances that season because they desperately needed a win to keep up to scratch with Man City. And I guess that was a positive result in the end because we got top 4 in the end that season and we ruined their title chances as well. But apart from that, I mean, we always come away from that game thinking, oh, we should have got more out of that game, and it never happens. So hopefully we can rewrite the form books this weekend and get the 3 points that maybe we've deserved a few times over the past few years.
It's always a what could have been with Liverpool every single time. So let's just hope we're not coming away on Saturday with another what could have been moment, because it's been so frustrating. But at least the positive is we always create chances. Whatever team we are, under Mourinho, under Conte, under Pochettino, we always create a lot of chances against Liverpool, and we always have a good game. We always turn up, but we just never get those victories, which is very, very frustrating. Although there have been a few draws in there, but a big majority of them have been losses, and that's and always usually more often than not by the odd goal. Apart from we had a 3-1 defeat under Mourinho at home back in 2021. I don't think they've beaten us by more than a goal since the Champions League final. So I think it's always a very close game. But looking at their team, they are a team in form at the moment. Mo Salah, 12 games in a row now where he's either got a goal or an assist. He's one of our ones to watch. He's got 3 goals and 4 assists this season in the Premier League. He's kind of turned a more like a creator role, hasn't he, Mo Salah? He's kind of maybe being a bit more selfless, where he had a lot of accusations down the years of being a selfish player who always goes for goal, thinking of himself. But this season, he's definitely revamped his kind of play style.
Look, the guy is, he's a phenomenon. He's an unbelievable football player. Probably in the top 3, if not the top 2 players in the Premier League. And he has been for a number of years now. And yeah, what you're saying is completely right. He's evolving his game as he's getting older. He's becoming more of a creator, which is showing in the stats as well. 3 goals, 4 assists this season. Same amount of assists as James Maddison this season. We talk about James Maddison, how influential he is and how creative he is. So that's a testament to to how selfless Mo Salah's been and how much he's evolved his game. So he's an unbelievable player. We're going to have to watch out for him, and him coming up against Destiny Udogie. I mean, Destiny, he came under a lot of pressure from Bukayo Saka early in that game in the North London derby last week, got the booking, and after that I felt like he had the beating and had the better of Bukayo Saka for the rest of the game. But I do think it's a bit of a different kettle of fish coming up against Mo Salah this weekend. Both of them unbelievable players, don't get me wrong, but I do think Mo Salah's just got that bit more intelligence about him, and he is a better player essentially, and he's been doing it for a lot longer than Bukayo has been. But I think Bukayo didn't really test Udogie when he was on that yellow card, which will be a bit of a frustration to him. But I don't think if Udogie gets booked early, I don't think Mo Salah will be as forgiving as Bukayo was last weekend.
I agree with you that it's he's a much smarter player, I think, at the moment than Bukayo Saka, Mo Salah, the way he's going. But I think physically, I think Udogie will definitely fancy his chances a bit more against Mo Salah than he would against Bukayo Saka, because Saka is, at the moment, at the age he's at, he's much more of a physical presence. He's a bit stronger. He's a bit more energetic than someone like Salah is. But Salah's a bit smarter in his movement. Maybe he's going to drag Udogie inside. He's going to catch him off guard by going on his blind side, that kind of stuff. I'm thinking Udogie, if I think Udogie squared up against Salah in a one-on-one battle, like dribbling wise, I reckon he could get more joy out of Salah in those occasions than Bukayo Saka. But that's a bit like not where it's going to come down to. I think it's going to come down to where Salah's picking up the ball, what positions. Maybe he's picking up the ball centrally. Maybe he's making smart movements which Udogie's not picking up. I don't think it's going to be a case like the Saka one, which is like one, he's dribbling at him and Udogie's going to have to like try and tackle him and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot more subtle. It's going to be a bit more of a different challenge. It's going to be very interesting to see how Udogie comes up to, because you don't get too tougher challenges than Saka and Salah in consecutive weeks. So if he comes away with this one, that's definitely promising. The other star man we got is Darwin Nunez, 3 goals and 1 assist in his 6 games this season, 4 sub appearances. So been mostly on the bench, but he is a man in form. Do expect him to start on the weekend. He definitely is starting to improve for Liverpool, in my opinion. Got a great goal last week against West Ham, a brilliant volley, and maybe a goal he wouldn't have scored last season. Is he finally becoming that player that Liverpool hoped, or is it too early to say?
I kind of always thought that he would just keep getting better and better and better. I mean, I think we saw really good signs last season from Darwin Nunez, a big physical presence up there. The only thing he needed to kind of work on was his finishing. I think that was like the final proper thing that he needed to add to his game, and it looks like he is adding that now, albeit like he does still miss quite some presentable chances, but it's like he's one of those players where like he'll miss the easy chance and then score the really hard chance. And I think we saw that last weekend. Can't remember who it was against now, but
West Ham.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, he missed a really easy chance and then he just scores that volley and you're just like, what can you do with this guy? But I think he's going to provide such a different test to what Nketiah provided for us last weekend in the North London derby. Van de Ven just pretty much just gobbled up Nketiah last weekend, and I think it's going to be a big battle, a big physical battle as well between Van de Ven and Darwin Nunez. And I'm obviously going to side with Mickey Van de Ven to come out on top, but it's going to be a very interesting battle for him. And I think probably Mickey Van de Ven's biggest test as of yet this season.
I agree. I think Nunez is the biggest test for both him and for Van de Ven and Romero this season, because I'm thinking about the strikers we've come up against so far this season. Obviously, look, they're not easy. You've got Wissa and Buemo. You've got Solanke for Bournemouth. You've got, I think, Martial started the game, didn't he, for Man United. You've got Nketiah for Arsenal, Foster for Burnley. But I don't think physically any of them have the presence that Darwin Nunez has. Not just strength-wise, but pace as well in behind. That ability to stretch our back line like he does. So, and also maybe an aerial threat as well. Crosses swung into the box. He's going to be a physical presence in there. And you've got, I think, Trent, who's going to be back for this game. And if he's potentially whipping crosses in, or even Mo Salah from the right-hand side, or one player we might notice is Dominic Szoboszlai. His crossing from the half spaces has also been very, very impressive so far. So I think Nunez, he's going to be one which we have to be very, very careful of in this game. And if we're not careful for giving him too much space, he's one of those players who who could definitely take 2 chances in the first 30 minutes or so if we're giving him those chances, the form he's
could also
in.
miss 2 chances in the
he could also miss one. That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. So look, I think the 2 finishes against Newcastle showed me that maybe he's starting to get that clinical edge into his game. I thought I was so impressed how those were 2 difficult finishes as well. Yeah, but he started against West Ham and he scored. I think he started in midweek in the Europa League and he scored. So I think he's starting to show that bit of clinical edge. And yeah, look, every striker is going to miss chances. That happens, but it's about whether you can still end up getting the ball in the back of the net. And he seems to be able to be doing that at the moment. And I reckon I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with over 20 goals a season, to be honest.
Wow, 20 goals, you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon he could end up with over 20 goals in the Premier League.
What did he get last season? He got 9 last season. So you reckon like to over double his output from last season?
100%. I think he could do it. I think there are signs already he can do it, in my opinion. I'm being super impressed. But looking at their 11, which we're thinking they're going to play going into this game, got Alisson in goal. Trent looks like he's back fit. I think Matip, Van Dijk, Robertson, Konate could come in at centre back. Well, Matip's there. Midfield 3 of McAllister, Szoboszlai, and Curtis Jones. There is maybe talk. Apparently, Endo had a very good game in midweek in the number 6. And if I was Klopp, I think I would start Endo in that number 6 position, because I think they're going to need a bit of solidity against our midfield. But the midfield they've been predominantly playing is that midfield 3. And then the front 3, Salah, Nunez, and Diaz. I think that's their most informed 3, although they do have Jota, they do have Gakpo as well. But I believe they both started in midweek, Jota and Gakpo. So based off that, I believe Nunez and Diaz are probably getting ready to start on the weekend. And as well, if I'm picking a 3 who I'm most worried about hurting us, it probably is that 3, to be honest, rather than Jota and Gakpo in terms of what's best to like combating us. But looking at that midfield lineup, I think definitely up in the middle, that we could definitely have an advantage, maybe physically, and especially with positions Maddison could pick up. I think a lot could depend whether Endo does start. But I mean, offensively, there's just so many ways they can attack us. They've got that front 3. They've got McAllister and Szoboszlai as well, who are very good in the final third and picking locks and passes and shooting from range. You saw Szoboszlai's goal in midweek. What an unbelievable shooter from range he is. In the back as well, they've got Robertson and Trent, who are 2 of the most offensive fullbacks in the league. And if you give them time and space to give a delivery, they could be so dangerous. So they've just got threats all over the pitch, don't they, Liverpool? So it's going to be very, very hard to stop. But with the way they play, there will be chances for us if we can dominate that midfield, maybe cut off the supply to the attack, and maybe somehow we can exploit the space or win some individual battles going forward. There's definitely some encouragement we can take from them. But I'm just looking at that lineup and I'm like, there's just threats everywhere.
Yeah, but they got to look at our lineup and say there's threats everywhere for us as well, to be honest. And I think the midfield battle is going to be really key. And I really hope that they do play McAllister in the number 6, because he's going to be the weak point in that midfield to say that, come on, we can target that area of the pitch with Yves Bissouma, with Pape Matar Sarr, with James Maddison coming deep and showing his off-the-ball work that he's been showing all season. I really think our midfield is better than that midfield that you've shown so far. So I think if we can win that midfield battle, get Kulusevski up against Robertson and Manor Solomon up against Trent, I think we can hurt them on the wings as well. So look, as much as they've got talent and they've got good players all around the pitch that can hurt us, I think as well the other way around, that we've got a lot of talent and we've got players in our own right that can go and hurt them. And we've seen it before. They are conceding chances every single game. So we need to be as clinical as Sonny has been throughout his time at number 9. And if we take our chances, we can get something out of this game 100%.
Yeah, I think Bissouma could, again, a bit like the Emirates, if he turns up and starts to dominate, that's where I think a lot of our joy can be had in that middle of the park, because he's just fearless at the moment, Bissouma. And if he's looking at McAllister, Szoboszlai and Jones, I don't think he's worried about any of those players pressing him and losing the ball. Like maybe against Arsenal, some of the midfielders were able to pinch it in the first half. But I think he'd be super confident looking at that midfield, thinking I can definitely dominate and assert myself on that game. And James Maddison as well. Like if he's looking to get away from some midfielders and create some space for himself, like if any of those players are picking him up, he's probably going to be confident, like, I can get away from those players and I can create some space on the final third and create some chances. I think it's under the radar though, but Pedro Porro could definitely have a big influence on this game with his ability from deep to pick out passes and his crossing ability as well, because we saw against Burnley his ability to pick out long passes over the top to Sonny from deep positions. He can be very, very accurate, and if they allow him a bit of space to pick out passes to Son, that can definitely be an avenue we can get at them as well. So I'm very intrigued to see his performance as well. Is Trent being
always
back?
Been the way that we've hurt Liverpool. That has always been the way, to find ways where we can feed Son in behind, and Pedro Porro and James Maddison are going to be absolutely vital to that.
100%. It looks like Trent is going to be back for this game. Are you happy with that he's back and probably going to play, and that means maybe as opposed to Joe Gomez, maybe it's a weaker defensive player, or are you more worried about his quality on the ball and how him having back in the team, how that can hurt us?
Yeah, I mean, him back in the team is just another avenue for them to hurt us, essentially. I mean, you're talking about one of the best, if not the best, ball-playing right-backs in world football, or the Premier League, definitely. But him being there is definitely a defensive liability for them, and I think it's a way that we can hurt them. And that's why I'm actually really annoyed that Brennan Johnson's not playing, because I feel like Brennan Johnson in behind Trent would be such a dangerous way for us to attack them. With Manor Solomon, I don't know, it's going to be a bit difficult because he's going to try and get Trent one-on-one, or try and isolate someone one-on-one. Even if Trent's like high up the pitch, it's probably going to be Konate to come out and engage him, and I'm not sure if he's going to have the beating of Konate, to be honest. So I would have much preferred to see Brennan Johnson. I think our threat against what Liverpool pose would be a much stronger, but look, we got to go with what we got, and I think having Trent there as a defensive, in terms of all the way we can hurt them, is probably more of a positive for us. But I think when you're looking at the whole outlook of the game, it's probably more of a negative for us.
With Brennan being out, do you think Ange is maybe considering a bit of a change up, maybe bringing Rishi back in, putting Son on the left, maybe Brian Hill is a consideration because he's back and available. I don't know if he's fit enough to start, but maybe he's a consideration. Maybe I was thinking about this the other day. Maybe playing a bit of a diamond midfield with Kulu in behind Rishi and Son up front. Is that a consideration? Or do you think he's just going to keep it simple, just replace Brennan for Manor and just go that way?
Look, Manor was unlucky to come out the team for the Arsenal game because of he had a really good game, really strong showing in the game before. I just thought it was Brennan's kind of attributes that won him that spot against Arsenal with his electric pace in behind. So with Brennan out, I think he reverts back to what we played the game before. I think it's simple, to be honest. I don't think there's a question mark about it. I think Manor goes on the left, Kulu goes on the right, Sonny up top, and then with the same midfield.
With Rishi getting his first Premier League goal against Liverpool, didn't he, last season? Maybe he'll be coming off the bench. That could be something that to consider later on. I'm sure he'll have that extra motivation to try and get a goal. So I'm looking forward to, even if we need a goal later on, I'm sure Richie can definitely do something against this Liverpool
He's looked better.
Defense.
He's looked better.
He has looked better.
So yeah. I'm happy with an option like that from the bench, because obviously he's a player that usually plays well against Liverpool. He's been upping his output. He's been, ever since he's come out and talked about his problems, I think it seems as like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders and he's been performing a lot better since then. So it gives us a really good option off the bench with maybe 20 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go.
100%. So considering all these factors, with Brennan now out as well, what is your score prediction?
On the Prem predictions, I went 3-2 to Spurs. Without Brennan Johnson, I kind of thought maybe I'd go 2-2, but I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to back the boys, and 3-2 to Spurs.
3-2. Yeah, I said 2-2. I'm going to stick with it. I think Liverpool are coming into this game very high on confidence, very little injuries as well, so pretty fully fit. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to stop them, but I think it's going to be difficult for them to contain our midfield as well. I think it's going to be difficult for them to contain Son if we are winning that midfield battle. So I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be punches and counter punches from both sides, but I couldn't separate us, so I've gone for a 2-2 draw. But let us know in the comment section section below what your thoughts on the game. What are your score predictions? Who do you agree with? Let me know in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.